Hi everyone, it's Simon Keeling here, Thursday the 11th of April. Thanks again for watching. This is the look ahead video at weatherweb.net. Now remember, we're kept free of charge because of the adverts that are around the screen here. That means that you can come back in and use the site whenever you need to. We don't operate a paid subscription service, but by using the adverts and using the charts, that's what keeps us free of charge. And warm weather, you won't be surprised to know, is the main story of the day once again today. This is the 850 temperatures from the ECMWF, and the reason we use 850 when we're looking further ahead is that it's about 5,000 feet in the atmosphere, and it gets rid of the diurnal variations at the surface temperatures and gives you a better idea as to the overall progression of temperature. And you can see here that we see this big spike in temperature, look, once we get through Saturday, and by Sunday we're 6 and 7 degrees at 5,000 feet, and then look, the temperatures, although backing off a bit, do continue to rise right to the end of the period, which is the 21st of April. By then temperatures are around 9 degrees at 5,000 feet. Now just to give you an idea of where these temperatures go, that would give us temperatures of about 23 degrees Celsius across the southeast during the weekend, and with these temperatures out towards the back end of the forecast period, we could well again see 23 or 24 degrees depending on the wind direction by then. Now the surface temperatures from the GFS ensemble see this increase in temperature too. Here it is, look, there's the big spike as we go through this weekend, and then it comes off a little bit and it holds steady around about a 15 degree mark before falling off a little bit. But really don't take too much notice of this because the GFS does tend to smooth things out a little bit too much. But one thing I do want you to notice is you see the green bars that are here. This is rainfall, and notice how we do see some rainfall during this early part of the period, but how it just fades off by the time we're getting into the early part of next week. So there is going to be some rain around. It's not going to be completely dry for all areas, but having said that, warm weather is on the way and there'll be lots of dry weather too. I think the highest risk of rain again is going to be across more northern and western areas. Now we'll use the ensemble just to see how things progress. This is the forecast for midnight tonight. You see low pressure centred here off towards the west of the country. I want you to notice just where the jet stream is. It's blowing through here just at the present time on this chart at midnight tonight. Now, by the time we're getting through to midday on Sunday, look what's happened. The jet stream has meandered further north. We've got this ridge in here that's built northwards because of the warmer air being pumped north, and that builds the heights. So that's going to be responsible for bringing in the warm weather from the southwest. But what it does do on the opposite side of the jet stream, it deepens this low off out towards the west. Then as we get through, we'll jump forward a few days. So this is taking us now up to next Wednesday. And again, look at the pattern of the jet stream. We've got a trough in the Atlantic. We've got this ridge flattening out a little bit through the British Isles. This is what I said about the GFS smoothing things out. But the message to take from this is that the warm weather continues. Now, there will be a series of fronts in here. There's going to be a front, for example, on this chart, somewhere probably in there. And that'll be the warm front in there. This will be the cold front here. Now, what this will do is bring rain across Scotland, perhaps the far northwest of England, certainly western and southern Ireland. It could bring a little bit of mist and low cloud to western coast of Wales and southwest England too. But for many, it's dry, it's fine. It looks like the east and the south is probably going to fare best. And then the 20th. So this is the chart for Saturday the 20th, and notice what's happened now. Look, here's our trough in the Atlantic that we just saw, but there's the ridge, look, building ever stronger. Now what happens is that as this trough buckles its way southeastwards, so what it does, it turns the flow more into the south. It brings ever warmer air northwards all the time, and it builds the surface high here across the British Isles. So it's indicating still fine weather coming through and lasting through the second third of the month. Now then, just notice that there will be some fronts brushing their way eastwards across northern and western Scotland, northern and western Ireland, and they may bring some rain here, but for most it's going to be dry and it's going to be warm, potentially very warm. And then if we just skip towards the very end of the forecast period, this takes us to the 26th, so getting to the end of the month. And again, look, we've got this big ridge through the country. We've got the trough out towards the west again, these little shortwave troughs moving through. But high pressure is dominant across the country. But what I want you to notice here is that the flow has come back into a northeasterly. Now, with that flow back into the northeasterly, it is a cooler direction, so it's not as warm as we will see during this weekend, which is why, again, I'm saying we might see 23 or 24 degrees, but it will be the turn of the west to see those higher temperatures during this period. I think that's probably pushing a little bit. Having seen this chart, probably will go nearer a 21, but nonetheless, dry for all, fair for all. Could be some overnight frosts on this one, just slight overnight frost, but essentially it's dry and it's fine. Now, interesting to see where the CFS takes us on this. This is the week 1 forecast, and this is the 500 millibar height anomalies. You notice here on this one, it's got the jet stream blowing through here, which is probably about right, with higher pressure down towards the south here, brought about by those higher heights. If we just look at week 2, so if we just zoom in and have a look at week 2 here, this is the period from the 18th through to the 24th. And what you notice here is, look, we've got this trough out in the Atlantic we've just seen. There's the ridge across the British Isles. There's high pressure. So it's backing up this idea of fine, dry conditions for most, although again, like I say, watch out for northern and western Scotland, Western Ireland, the risk of some rain there at times. But for most, it's dry, it's fine, it's sunny. So then we head into week 3, and again you see above normal heights to the north of the country now. This is the idea of high pressure building back towards the north. Look, low pressure down to the south. This may just bring a little bit of rain perhaps to the far south of the country, although at the moment the CFS certainly is holding on to the idea of high pressure dominating. But again, these are the cooler temperatures at the end of the month, but cooler only sort of 20, 21 degrees in the west, probably nearer 15, 16, 17s in the east, but generally fair, dry and sunny. Some low cloud on the eastern coast, but for most of us it should be fair. And then if we just take a look at week 4, and the CFS then is weak. So let's just have a look at week 4. This is the week 4 forecast, and what this is indicating from the CFS is high pressure out towards the west here, low high pressure towards the east, low to the north, low to the south, and a cold situation across the UK. Now what that could lead to is some thundery showers breaking out. The temperatures probably in the south would be fairly warm on this, but I think some heavier showers across Scotland. So there are these indications of a breakdown coming through in the early part of May, perhaps into the bank holiday weekend, although again the emphasis is on this dry weather. I think what we've got to work on is really from about the 16th, 17th onwards we are essentially dry, plenty of sunshine across the country, need to watch for rain in the west, but this breakdown possibly taking place in this very early part of May. But overall, I suppose you give it an 8 out of 10. So that's it for now. Thanks again for watching. Remember that the sites get free of charge by the adverts you're seeing around the screen here, and I think that's quite positive news, isn't it, from what we've just seen in the forecast. So for now, thanks for watching and keep the sun shining. Bye for now.